Getting through the chills, all see is gray. Drowning in the monotony, no escape today. But I need a haircut, break the static's hold. Losing up this time, it bites, the story is told. Say goodbye to boredom, headlines made of gold. Twist and shake perspectives in a way so bold. They serve it up with humor.
Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and if you haven't been thoroughly entombed, encased, and inconcreted in the Karen Read case, then you will know that the Lori Daybell case was pretty big. I call her Lori Dorkbell. I call her Lori Vallow. I refuse to Dorkbell her, but I'm not a translated being, and I don't buy any of the Dorkbell shenanigans, and apparently the jury didn't either, because they found her guilty of murder conspiracy, or conspiracy to commit murder, or just everything, or of having those eyebrows. Double guilty, all the guilty, life without parole for those eyebrows. Anywho, Lori Daybell, the mother convicted of murdering her 2 children in a so-called doomsday plot, has now been found guilty of conspiring with her brother to kill her 4th husband. Yes, Chad was 5 times lucky. You know, if you're the 5th husband, maybe she's the problem, but I mean, I digress. A jury in Maricopa County, Arizona was able to, well, figure out a verdict before we can figure out any of the voting tallies ever in Maricopa County, Arizona. So, well, you know, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So the jury in Maricopa County, Arizona was handed the case Monday afternoon before reaching a verdict on Tuesday afternoon. So it took that long. I'd have been like, yeah, no. I just heard her speak. Although I am waiting so patiently to start this on the Petty Express because I'm going to need something that is completely unrelated to the Karen Read case to get me through my sanity. I don't know. I do have googly eyes. I do have, glue sticks. I am going to be making a Brennan sock puppet to make him bearable. Maybe Legal Shenanigans Theater will be live streamed towards the end of the Karen Read trial. Now, in a shocking twist that had all of the mental fortitude of Daryl Brooks doing, well, the New York Times, crossword puzzle, Lori Daybell decided to represent herself in the Phoenix trial. Now, she didn't take the stand or call any witnesses in her defense. I think she did say on an interview, though, that Jesus was right there. So I guess Jesus is more of a silent partner in this endeavor. Now, dubbed the Doomsday Mom, Lori Daybell has maintained that her brother shot her then husband of 13 years, Charles Vallow, in self-defense in her home in Chandler, Arizona, at the time of July 2019. Now, her brother, Alex Cox, died of natural causes just months after the shooting. And if you were part of the, Tylee Ryan, JJ and Tammy Daybell kind of case, there was just so much going on in links between Lori and her brother in shining armor / kind of creepily more. There were definite undertones of there being a sort of ride or die bond between Alex Cox and Lori that extended beyond normal familial brotherly sisterly bonds. It's been alluded to that it seemed like there were something more. There were more possessive. There was some weird tangents in there.
Why do you want to stream?
Yes, I actually do have children. No, I don't just say I have 6 children. We do get feral interruptions because, it's 6:30 in the morning, and why is mom streaming this early? That being said, back to the point where Alex and Lori had this very entangled, very enmeshed sort of like ride or die Bonnie and Clyde kind of relationship. It was really weird to me. Just learning the things, casual true crime, learning about the Daybell Vallow ridiculous case. So there was always that component that I found really, really odd. Again, I would help my siblings out with anything. I wouldn't take a felony for them. So I guess I have a standard and they didn't. Now, she had pled not guilty to conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Prosecutors, meanwhile, said that the shooting was a plot for Daybell to get rid of her estranged husband so that she could get his $1 million life insurance policy and be with her, well, so her boy toy at the time, Chad Daybell, and again, ick. Really, Lori? Downgrade. Like basement, bargain level, like Kmart blue light special, like the stuff that's on clearance, like the sad, Christmas decorations that are 90% off. There's a reason no one buys them. They're junk, and we don't need no more junk. That being said, you just went to the bargain basement bin and was like, oh, hell yeah, we're there. Just wallering in the Daybell, pen. Anywho. Now, she did marry Chad Daybell 4 months after the shooting of her fourth husband. I guess fifth time is the charm, although, I would stop at 3 personally, but that's just me. Now, prosecutors further said that she invoked her twisted religious beliefs as justification for the murder and gave her brother religious authority to kill Vallow because they believed that he was possessed by an evil spirit they referred to as Ned. Yes, this is exactly how this happened. Normal people text about this all the time. Quick reminder to those of you who don't, crime often. We don't write about our crime. We don't text about our crime. We don't tell nobody about our crime, and we don't leave any evidence behind. Now, I don't know who needed to hear that, but there. Now, over 2 weeks, the state called more than a dozen witnesses, including Daybell's other brother, Adam Cox, who testified that he had, quote, no doubt, end quote, that his 2 siblings conspired to kill Vallow upon learning that his brother had fatally shot him. Well, I guess in the Cox family, loyalty is only for Lori and, Alex. Now, in her closing argument, Maricopa County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Trina Kay said the evidence at the scene showed that Vallow was not shot in self-defense, but it was instead executed in the stage. Then they staged the scene around him to make it look like a, self-defense case. Again, Charles Vallow was a semi-pro. Look, I'm not a sportsologist, but he did baseball for like schooling and college and the junior minor league. Look, I don't know what they're called. Anywho, if the man had swung a bat at Alex Cox's head, he probably would not have, a little boo-boo that you could barely see on the body cam. Now, the prosecutor recounted text messages sent from Lori Daybell to her husband, Chad, 7 days after Vallow was killed, discussing her now deceased husband's life insurance policy. Kay said, and Kay would be the sister of Charles and the beneficiary, that Charles changed the life insurance to where Lori had been naturally as his wife, most normally and naturally was going to be his beneficiary. But after she started to, sleep with another guy, call him Ned, and basically say she was a god, he's like, little cray cray, just scotch, and took her off the benefits. So now, Kay testified that upon learning she was no longer the beneficiary of the plan, the defendant messaged Chad and that Ned had probably changed it before they got rid of him. Again, we don't text our crimes, Lori. The prosecutor also discussed a text message the defendant said Alex Cox days before the deadly shooting, in which she said they could be like Nephi, a prophet from the Book of Mormon who God commanded to kill Laban. Now, Lori Vallow wanted millions of dollars, and she wanted Chad Daybell. And she and Alex used twisted religious beliefs that they had so they could kill evil, possess Charles, and be like Nephi, Kay said. Now, 3 jurors who spoke to reporters following the verdict said that the text message evidence in the case stood out while they were deliberating. The jurors said that they had no knowledge of Lori Daybell's prior convictions, which were not discussed during the Phoenix trial. Now, members of the Vallow family expressed relief about the verdict, the guilty verdict. Quote, "I'm ready to move on," Vallow's sister Kay Woodcock told reporters outside the courthouse. "This was thrust upon us, and our lives just went into like a tornado for a long time," she said. Following the guilty verdict, Lori Daybell agreed to several aggravating factors in the case, and instead of having the jury making a finding on them, among them she agreed that this was a dangerous offense and that it involved the presence of an accomplice. When asked if she agreed that as a result of her conduct, the victim or victim's family suffered emotional or financial harm, she said, "Absolutely." Ma'am, Jesus is the only one on your side. And Jesus was even like, "I'm going to take a back seat on this one, girlfriend. You got the wheel." Okay. Now, Lori will be sentenced upon the upcoming trial. So she will be sentenced following the next trial in Maricopa County, where she is further accused of scheming with her brother, Alex Cox, to kill Brandon Boudreaux, the ex-husband of her niece. So we still have more Lori Daybell Vallow Daybell coming up soon. Now, 3 months after the shooting of Vallow, Boudreaux called 911 to report that someone driving a Jeep or buying a Jeep had shot at his vehicle outside his home in Gilbert, Arizona. She has pled not guilty in that case. Now, both Chad and Lori Daybell were found guilty of first-degree murder for the deaths of her children, Joshua J.J. Vallow, 7 years old at the time, Tylee Ryan, 16, who went missing months after Charles Vallow was killed. In separate trials in 2023 and 2024, prosecutors argued that the couple thought that the children were possessed zombies and murdered them so they could be together. The children's remains were found on an Idaho property belonging to Daybell in June 2020, following months-long searches, for these children. Lori Daybell is currently serving a life sentence in prison without parole for the murders of her 2 children, though she has denied killing them and still denies them. Now, Chad Daybell was sentenced to death after being convicted of murdering the 2 children, as well as his wife, Tamara Daybell, and now awaits execution on Idaho's death row. So, definitely going to be more in this case. I wouldn't be shocked if she goes pro se again. It's giving her power, it's giving her attention, and she gets to pretend to be a functional human being again, with no care to the victims or how, another trial like this or anything or having to face her is going to act. For someone who claims to be so holy and transformed by the love of Jeebus, you sure do leave a path of destruction and pain and heartache behind you, Hurricane Lori. So I bid you adieu, Hatchet Face, until you come back again for the Boudreaux trial. So thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me as I give you a little rundown of what happened during the Daybell trial. Thank you for sharing your time with me. And remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. Bye, my lovelies.